The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hello, everybody. This is Vince Luciani, Senior Sales Engineer with SurgeX. I'm here with my buddy, Mike Morton.
Hey,
Mike, how are you?
good, thank you, Vince. And you?
I'm doing well. So we're just going to wait just a couple of minutes to get people all logged on here, and we'll start talking about Squid.
We're going to find out if our products work pretty well, because we're in the middle of an electrical storm here at the house. So if you hear a little background noise, you'll know what it is.
All righty.
I'm assuming most of the Midwest is enjoying these wonderful turbulent times with weather. So I hope you're all out there. It's nice and safe and dry at the moment.
And hopefully you've got some good solid power protection to save your delicate electronics.
By golly, I have SurgeX products, surge elimination on all of my products.
Very good, very good, very good.
I learned my lesson from a long time ago. It was an expensive lesson too.
Yeah. Very good. Well, we are at 11:03, so why don't we just get things started, Mike? So, Mike, we're here to talk today about the Squid, the AC/DC power center that SurgeX has launched. I think we're about a month into our launch. Mike, tell me, what have you heard about the buzz when you talk to your customers about Squid?
Well, like any other new product, there's always a lot of folks out there that are just, they're a little bit hesitant. It always sounds great and everything, but it's always hard because you want to put it out there, but you're worried about what's going on. One of the things that they have been telling me is that they do like the idea that this thing has had so many different awards from so many different areas and different companies that have actually looked at it, put it through its paces, and realized it's the real deal.
I mean, you look at it, Mike. In the Infocom, in our dealer partners on the commercial side, it's been recognized there. It's been recognized in the CEDIA world, which is the residential side of our business, and even in our friends over in Europe. We've shown it at shows over there. So it is really it's kind of cool. It's being recognized. And Mike, why do you think it is? Is it because of it's kind of a game changer? It's a different device?
Well, it is a game changer, and not only is it a game changer, there's nothing else out there that is like it. There's one or two items or units that are kind of similar, but don't have the versatility that this product does.
Yeah. Very good. Well, so let's talk about what is a Squid. First of all, where did it get its name, the Squid? The Squid got its name because it has 8 ports on it, right, as far as the power is concerned. There is 1 power input, and then there are 7 power outputs. But the power outputs are it's a hybrid, right? There is some of them are AC, 4 of them are AC, 3 of them are DC. Mike, what is the importance of having AC and DC all in one unit?
I think I can say that in one big word: wall wart. Maybe that's not one word, but yeah, the wall wart is the biggest problem I always hear from dealers constantly. AC is one thing, but that DC is a real problem, and this combination seems to be able to give you what it is that a lot of folks are needing at this point. And it is addressable.
Yeah. So we know that in applications, especially in huddle space, I think we all agree that the form factor of the Squid was really kind of geared towards the huddle space community because it is because we're seeing these situations where there's no more racks, right? Where you're going to have stuff mounted underneath tables or behind large monitors. And the problem with mounting up underneath the table is, where would you put an AC power strip? Well, you got to mount it under the table. Sometimes there's not a leg, there's not a table leg or a center section to mount it horizontally. So you got to mount it upside down on a table. That means plugging this wall wart in upside down, and then you got gravity working against you. And then a chair arm hits a wall wart. It starts to get loose. It falls out, and then you got a service call because the people don't realize that something got unplugged. So let's talk a little bit more about what's packed inside a Squid device. In addition to having both AC and DC outputs, the way we've kind of configured it, it's like having it's got similar characteristics to two of our products, the Access Elite and the Envision. If you're not familiar with an Access Elite, the Access Elite is actually a rack mount product we've had in our line for some time. The Access Elite is an IP managed device where you have control over all 8 of the AC outlets on the Access Elite. But one step further, inside the Access Elite, we built it to be a fully programmable, flexible sequencer, right? Where you can set up, different sequences and have them triggered in different ways. So that same kind of philosophy is in Squid as well as Envision. Envision is our diagnostic tool, and that diagnostic tool measures the power disturbances and gives you that kind of feedback. It comes in 3 flavors. The Squid, there's going to be 5 volts available on all the units. Now the 5 volts is not switchable, okay? And the 5 volt output will show you that it's going to come on USB and on a mini Phoenix connector. But the 3 versions are going to be 2 individually controllable 12 volt banks. Another version is going to have 2 individually controllable 24 volt banks, and then one is going to be a mix of 12 and 24.
Wow. Hey, Vince, sounds like there's a lot of features in this, but I got a question for you. How big is it?
It is about 10 inches, as you can see here, and about 2 inches high. You can see along this side, we've used all IEC connectors. And we did that, Mike, for our enterprise customers who expressed the desire that they have one or the same kind of equipment that's in every conference room, whether it be in domestic or in their international conference rooms. So we went with IEC. IEC also allowed us to make it a little bit smaller in size and get it compact. When you open up a Squid, it is jam packed. You're getting a lot for your money inside that device. It comes with the domestic unit. It's going to come with an AC power cord that goes to a NEMA style plug like you would normally do. The output cords, you guys are going to source yourself, because it's going to help with cable management, because now you can source an IEC to IEC cable that is the specific length that you are looking for. So the other dimension is about a little under 8.5 inches in width, and you can see there's a lot going on the end view of this device, starting from the left and going over to the right. You see, we start with the AC outlet indication LEDs, the annunciation LEDs. We've got those. The next is the DC outputs, the 2 banks. You've got bank 1, bank 2, as you can see there. Again, either you're going to have 3 different SKUs, the 12-12, 24-24, or a 12-24 combo. That center section is the 5 volt output. Reminder, it's not switched. The USB connectors that you see there, those are just convenience power only outlets. It is not a USB hub. So you can either, use the USB cable for powering, or you can go out of the mini Phoenix that you can see there. The next port over on that you see there, the USB OTG. OTG stands for on the go, which is this is going to be a great thing for our dealers for use during the provisioning process. Normally, when you have an Ethernet ready device that's got a built-in Ethernet port, as a manufacturer, you've got 2 choices. I'm either going to send it with a static IP, or I'm going to send it with DHCP enabled, right? And the problem is if you want to put it on a network that is the opposite of what we sent it as, right? So what you have to do is you have to go into your PC. You gotta, you guys know this much better than I do. You've gone through this spiel where you reconfigure the Ethernet card inside your PC to be able to talk to the device just to get into the user interface, right? The user interface is normally a web page on a web server internal to the device, and you got to go through all that rigmarole. Well, with this on-the-go port, you connect it directly to your PC through its USB port. You plug in you open up a browser, go to a special IP address, and this is all on the quick start guide, right? And it allows you to get access to that internal web server and to that user interface to configure the unit, right? And what's really cool is whether you are connected to the unit through the on-the-go port, or if you have it on the network and you're going through the Ethernet port, you're connected to the same user interface and the same control panel that's in there. What you can do is, after you do all your programming, you can offload that image, that programming image, and then upload it to other squids. So if you've got 20 identical conference rooms, you just do the programming once, you download it, and then upload it to all the other squids that are already on the networks. So it's a great setup. So I'm going to pull up the user interface, if you don't mind, Mike.
Hey, Vince, I got a question for you. I know we got a couple of folks on here that are also deal with not only domestic but international. But you said this device was both domestic and international product. What do I have to do to make do I have to order it separately, or different ones, or what?
I think the way that we're going to do it is you can order either specifically a domestic or international unit, but the only thing you got to do to change it over, if you ordered the different one, is to go into here, go over to devices, and the nominal voltage is chosen off of this pick screen right here. Okay. Now, from a voltage standpoint, as far as the electronics are concerned, it's the same voltages all around the world. The only thing you're really doing by changing this nominal voltage, here I'll just do a demonstration. If I change it to 230 volts, for instance, and I save that setting, the only thing it's really going to do is, when I go back to this main menu, it's going to reset my target line voltage, right? It's really just for the meters that are on the device, right? So here's a meter. There's a meter over here in the power monitoring section. It's really just kind of reconfiguring those meters for your nominal voltage. So I'm going to go back to the device tab. All right, and I'm going to set this over to 120 volts just to kind of get it back to square one. While I'm on this tab, I'll go ahead and show you. This is where you would do your provisioning. You might start here. You'll go to your outlet configuration. This is where you can go and name the outlets here, whatever you want to do. You can define a reboot time to whatever you want it to be for that particular device. What's really cool is you have this initial state that you can program it, right? And the initial state can be anything, always on or always off. Maybe you want to use always off for one of the outputs that you're not going to be using, and you just want to be safe about it. Just don't want to energize that unit. You can do that. The one that I think is a really great thing that our development team put in there was this reboot only. Okay, where reboot only comes into play is when I am on the main menu here, right? This is where you have access to turn on and off outlets directly, right? So I'm going to turn this outlet on, that I called chiller, right? Turn it on. I can turn it off using this slide switch. However, this router and this switch right here are the router and switch that I have a connection to Squid through. So if I were to click on this green button inadvertently and turn the router off, I would lose connection to Squid, and then I wouldn't be able to turn it back on. And now I got to really roll the truck to go and fix that error. But when you set it to reboot only, it disables this power switch. I am clicking on this green button right now. As you can see, it's not responding because it's in reboot only mode, but I can hit the reboot button and reboot my router if needed. So here is the landing page. One thing I didn't mention when I logged on, this particular unit is up to date in both the communications security protocols as well as on with sign-in protocols. So we conform to LDAP, and with LDAP technology, as you guys are probably much more aware of than I am, you guys being IT savvy, is the single sign-on capability. So when you've got that enterprise customer that has very stringent, aggressive password policies that they want you to change it every 6 months, we can follow the network login credentials that a user might have, right? So you can set it up so that your network username and password are the same as your Squid username and password. So as your network one changes, the Squid one also changes. So that's a really kind of convenient feature. It also conforms to 802.1x messaging security protocol, so you can upload certificates up to, I believe that technology goes up to 2048 bits. So again, we're trying to help you help the IT guys at your customers be happy. Okay, so here we are at the landing page. We've got access to the 6 controllable outlets. I can configure, you can see up here, make outlet groups, right? So I can have a configure for IT or for all the outlets, that kind of thing. Over here on the right-hand side of the page is kind of just the system status, just a quick shot of the line voltage. We have if I had anything plugged into this unit, we could see what the current is. This is the current of the entire unit and how much power that it's pulling. But this is kind of like that that initial landing page that gives you that information. So we mentioned earlier that this unit is very much like our Access Elite product. All right, so the Access Elite has 2 features in it that make it an Access Elite. One is the ability to act as a sequencer. Okay, so when programming a sequence, you pull up this menu and it's very intuitive. You name the sequence up here, right? You put in your so let's say we want to do one called IT off. All right, we want to have a sequence that just turns off, very simple, turn off our IT stuff. Here I would put my delay in this case, the first one, I'm going to have no delay. Which outlet am I talking about? Well, I got 2 options here. I can either pick the outlet group IT equipment that I've already defined, right? Or I could, switch the router off first, and we'll go over here, and what is the action I want to do is turn it off. And then there's really, when I'm turning stuff off, there's no reason to have a delay, but I can have a delay or not have a delay. And I also want to turn my switch off because those are my 2 pieces of IT equipment. I'm going to turn that off. I don't need this step, nor do I need this step. And I'm going to add that sequence to my bank of sequences, okay? The other thing that makes an Access Elite, and of course, since Squid is kind of taking its cues from the Access Elite, we are going to use what we call triggers. All right, so triggers are a way for the Squid itself to kind of monitor things and perform reboots automatically without any user intervention. All right, so here are 2 examples, right? And this is kind of in the area of power protection, right? When the voltage goes over 145 volts, we're going to shut everything down in the name of protection, right? And here, if it goes below, or if it drops down below 130 volts, we will clear that shutdown state and turn everything back on, right? If I wanted to, and I could run a sequence, right, at turn on, right? You can program it to do that. So let's build a new trigger and see what other kind of triggers we have. So one of the triggers we've got is the auto ping feature, and this is something that we pulled from Access Elite, which I think is a very popular feature. What the auto ping feature does is it allows you through the internal IP port of the Squid to ping an IP address right here. What do you want to ping? Well, a lot of people say, let's ping Google 8888. Why do you ping Google? Well, because Google's going to be there, right? Very rarely is Google down. So we're gonna ping Google, and you can have if you fail 10 times in a row, we're gonna call that, all right, we need to reboot the IT equipment. So you would go over here and you could run a sequence. You could just reboot a particular outlet. There's a lot of different programming options that you can do if the auto ping comes back with a failure. Okay, so that's a great feature. Another kind of automatic feature that we have that's going to be great to prevent unnecessary truck rolls is the scheduling feature. Actually, there's kind of two ways you can use scheduling. One way to use scheduling is to, on a daily basis, turn your conference room off and then back on in order to save energy, right? So maybe if it's a place of business, you want to pick a time that's for the people that might be working late at night. Let's say at midnight. Let's just turn the conference room off between midnight and 6 a.m. Saves wear and tear on the equipment, and also maybe save some energy for your clients that might be conscious to that. But another use that one of our dealer partners brought to my attention was they were going to use, either on the weekly or on the monthly time frame, reboot certain devices that are known to just kind of lose their marbles and just need a reboot, and just pull a new IP address. And stuff like streaming devices, video streaming devices, Apple TV devices, that kind of stuff. Maybe your control system processor, maybe just reboot it once a month, just to kind of give it a fresh start. And when are you going to do it? You're going to do it like Sunday at 2 o'clock in the morning when no one's going to be around, right? And it allows you to kind of be proactive and be preemptive in making sure your system is up and healthy. Okay. Another kind of trigger that we have is the thresholds with samples. So what kind of thresholds are we talking about? I mentioned earlier that this device acts or has a Envision tool built in. We haven't talked yet about what the Envision tool is, but again, it's our power diagnostic tool. Any of the power parameters that I'm about to show you that the Envision side of this device measures can be used to trigger. So I already showed you how we had a protection trigger, right, for the over voltage, right? If it goes too high, we can have an alarm action of turning off everything. But what are the things that we can measure? Well, we can measure not only line voltage, we can measure neutral to ground voltage. So if your neutral to ground voltage gets up above 5 volts, you may want to reboot your control processor because that guy might be down. We are measuring, like I mentioned before, the current draw of the entire unit, right? And if your current draw, if you're monitoring the kind of the steady state current draw of the entire system, and you notice that if it's like, yeah, I pull 2 amps all the time, just like everything's on, it's pulling 2 amps. Well, if you start pulling less than a half an amp, maybe you need to reboot something, right? That's something that you can set up. It's again, any electrical parameter we're measuring, you have the ability to have a trigger based on that. So we mentioned that this device works similar to the Access Elite. Where that comes into, I think I've already showed you this menu, which is kind of the real-time voltage monitor. I've reset it to be, to have my targets at 120 volts because I'm running this here in the States, 120 volts, 60 hertz. I got a little bit of neutral to ground voltage going on here. This is a great tool. However, we know that electrical energy is generated real time, and that the voltage changes as as the day goes forward, right? The voltage is generated a couple of milliseconds later, you're using it, and just because the power company got it right on the nose right now, look, I'm right here, a perfect 120 volts, but it changes around a little bit. It's great to have a record of what has gone on in the past, and that is really what is great about the Envision tool, and of course, what's also great about this the Envision functionality that's inside inside the Squid. So the way we do our power monitoring is we break it up into two areas, right? Timestamped events and historical data. So with timestamped events, this is basically an audit trail of everything that has gone on inside this device, right? So as you can see, I have the clock, the internal clock set up to go ping an NTP server so that the clock is accurate. It tells me when that happens, right? It tells me when I've logged on. So just right before Mike and I had a product demonstration just before this meeting, and I logged on to the device and logged off of it, and then just logged on to it for this meeting as well. I was this is when I was showing you how to turn on and off outlets. Shows you that. What's really great about it, not only does the device tell you when an event happens, it tells you who did it, right? So you can set up users on this device so that you are the administrator as the dealer that installed the unit. But if you want to give privileges to one of the local people to log on to this device, you can do that. But if they go and turn an outlet off, you now have proof that they did it because you have this audit trail. So this logs everything. Every time a trigger is triggered, which tells you if you've had an overvoltage or an undervoltage, if you have that trigger set up, it tells you when it was rebooted, for the time clock. It tells you, everything that goes on with the unit. So the other attribute is that we have historical data, right? So the historical data is basically like an electronic chart recorder that logs the voltage and all of those parameters over time. Now it takes a little while for this data, and Mike, this is where I call on you to help me pass the time away. The reason why it's taking a good bit of time to load this data is two reasons. One is there's a lot of data that we've got in there. It's very high resolution data. The other one is that my computer is not the highest speed computer around, and since I have video going during this phone call, and I got we got this video going on, when I do this particular action and I don't have any video going on, it's about 4 times as fast. But
well, so, one thing I'll come back and ask you real quick too, Vince, while we're still loading data. It sounds like there's this thing is packed with features and benefits to the customers themselves. Didn't you say this thing was only like 10 by 8 by? It was only 2 inches thick.
Yeah, it's just a little under 2 inches thick, so you can fit it behind most video monitor applications.
And that fits right into the building code of 4 inches from the wall, right?
Yep, absolutely.
Perfect. Well, hopefully the wall wart issue will be at least minimized, if not completely eliminated. But of course, those pesky things never go away.
Yeah. So, but there's a lot of options, with having the 4 AC outputs and the multiple DC power supplies in there. It's I think this is going to be a very convenient unit. So the data has loaded in. Now the browser is looking at all that data and getting it ready to display it on the screen.
Fantastic. It sounds like there is a lot of data.
Yeah, I'm going to show you that in a second.
So we had our first power flicker, and luckily nothing happened here at good old Homestead.
Yeah. Now I know, Mike, that I sound like a salesman when I say it goes a lot faster than this when you don't have all the resources on your PC going. But with the video going and all this other webinar, it does load quite a bit faster. But what we're seeing here is very high resolution data on what the power has been for the last 7 days. And when I look at that, it's like, all right, why are there two lines there? The orange one, as you can see in the upper left, is the minimum voltage during the time window, and the purple is the maximum voltage. So what we have done, we have set up this data interval, and the data interval is a window for acquisition. And you, as the user, you have the ability to set that in this configuration tab right here. So here's the data logging interval. I've got it at 2 seconds. So what that means is during the 2-second window, it is keeping up with all of these parameters on this page. All right, and at the end of that 2 seconds, it records all the data, right? So cycle by cycle, we are looking at the min, max, average, all of these parameters that you see there. And at the end of 2 seconds, it changes. You can set that window at 2 seconds, at 30 seconds, at a minute, all the way up to 24 hours. So that kind of will determine how much data you're collecting, but also how fine the resolution of your data is. So as you can see, a lot of those parameters are similar, right? Line current can be expressed as RMS. It can be expressed as peak or as minimum. So there's a lot of different parameters there. When you set this to like a 30-minute data interval window or an hour data interval window, what will happen is these two lines here will deviate quite a bit more, because within an hour, you've got the possibility of having a greater difference between min and max. But when you set it at 2 seconds, you can say here, even with a 2-second window, I got 0.2 of a volt difference that happened during that window. So you think, you may wonder, well, why do you do this data window thing anyway? It is an attempt, or not an attempt, it is a way to reduce the amount of data that you got on here. So it's a way to reduce that data, so you're not storing a ton of data in the unit as well. So what do we see from this picture? So what I'm seeing is over the last 7 days that I've got this cyclical thing going on where, during the nighttime hours when people are asleep and not using electricity, the power creeps up to about 123 volts. And then during the day, when when people are using electricity down here, it goes down because it goes down to 120. This is what goes on the grid. I think it's an eye opener for a lot of people, Mike, to see that power does fluctuate from day to day. And if you think about, wow, if it's fluctuating, on a day-to-day basis, can it fluctuate even more than that? And the answer is yes. And what you can do is you can go back in time and see how much it has fluctuated, and see if you had an issue on the day where you had a power, or you had a disturbance in your system, or you had a hiccup in your system. You go say, hey, what was the voltage? What was the current going back then? So, Mike, that's about all I have. Is there anything else that you want to talk about while we've got our audience here?
I had a question for you. How is this data stored? I mean, is it a format that we can do something with?
Well, you can export this data into a standard CSV file where you pull it into Excel. And that's the way that I do it quite a bit as well. Is I'll do throw it into Excel. Sometimes I'll use the graphic interface here, but you throw it into Excel, and then you can comb the data a little bit easier when it's in numerical format. But either way you want to slice it, it all works out well.
The other thing is too, there's a lot of data here, and I'm sure that the common person, the person who's every day out there working, probably can't read a lot of this data. How do they actually interpret this? Is there a manual that comes with it or something?
Well, you get me, and I think that's one of the things that when you work with SurgeX, that's one of the things that we offer is access to the experiences that I've had with power and to help you figure out your power issues. I do that on a regular basis for both our commercial customers and our residential dealers. They'll put, traditionally we've had that Envision standalone box that we've used, and I help them interpret the data and kind of forensically figure out what might be the issue and help them figure out what products they might use to make things better.
You can help me read this data then. You can help me read this data and maybe come up with an idea of what it might possibly be then. Is that what you're saying?
Yep. And like a good example is sometimes when you see voltage variations, although you look at this voltage variation, and I would say this is fine. This is kind of normal, even though it looks like you got to be kidding me. But no, this is kind of normal. When you see voltage variations go from 130, mid 130s or even higher, and then down to 90s. And you see that happen over and over and over again, just all day long, day after day, day after day. That is indicative of a common problem called a loose or missing neutral. The neutral wire is a very important. All the wires are important in electrical distribution, but when you when you have some impedance on that neutral wire going to the transformer. Sometimes it's just a matter of getting an electrician to go tighten the terminals down. Often, there's two kinds of wires that are used: aluminum wire and copper wire, and both of those wires are wire types are somewhat soft, to a certain degree. And over time, they're clamped down into, with a bolt into a power panel. And sometimes that metal can relax just very slightly, and that connection becomes a little bit resistive, and it shows up as voltage variations over time. Sometimes, we'll say, hey, go out and check the neutral, tighten that neutral down, and that's not the problem. And we say, go back further in the system, and they got to call the power company out to go check the neutrals in the transformer. And the thing is that the power company is responsible for providing you a certain degree of power quality. And what happens is sometimes these reports are just the thing you need to get the power company to provide that service. A lot of times they're just gonna dismiss you and say everything's okay. It's like, no, I got a report here that says that the power is not good. So that's where this Envision data really comes in handy.
So I guess just because the lights come on doesn't necessarily mean power is good, right?
That is correct. That is correct. The fact that power, what I mentioned before, power is generated real time. The power company, they got a tough job. They got to prove themselves every millisecond, right? Because just because the turbines are doing a good job right now doesn't mean that they're not, turbines are just the tip of the iceberg, right? Think of all the power, just all the labyrinth of wires that gets power from the power plant that's 100 miles away to your house. Boy, it goes through a lot of stuff. There's a lot of places where it could mess up. And, we take for granted that it's perfect. And it's good to know we've got tools to show you when it's not.
Well, great. Thanks, Vince. It sounds like we can actually, or SurgeX can actually give a not only product to help in this AV market space, but also give you a little bit of diagnostics or proactive look at some of this stuff too. So that sounds like it's a really interesting combination.
It is. We've had a lot of luck with Envision, a lot of not luck, I should say, a lot of success with helping customers with the traditional Envision tool. That's why we built it into Squid, because it's you know, knowledge is power, you know.
Well, thank you. Sounds good. Is there anything else you think you should add to that, or?
No, I think that's it. Robert is our master of ceremony at the shop. Robert, do we have any questions from the viewers or anything like that?
We do have questions. I'll go one at a time. First one is,
All righty.
Can you also set multiple levels of access via passwords?
Yes, you can. Yes, you can. So when you go over to the users menu, you can set up new users and give them different privileges. As you can see here, as the network administrator, I have all the privileges. So when you set up a new user, you can, you know, turn off certain of the privileges.
Okay. Second question, if you do have a small AV rack, like a 3 RU vertical rack or in-wall type, does it have rack ears?
Very good question. So what I have been suggesting to you know, to our guys, all right, here, I guess this is the best picture to show. There are these mounting brackets over here on the side. Let me see if there's a better way to show it. Yeah, maybe on this one right here. You know, a lot of these racks will have a horizontal stabilizer that goes, you know, from the front vertical to the rear vertical, but it's a horizontal, right? It's that horizontal member. And yeah, you know, you can bolt it to that, you know, bolt it to that rail, and then it's kind of tucked over to the side. I've had some guys talk about just mounting it to the rear rail and just kind of letting it cantilever out. So those are two options. But I would look for down the road for this technology to migrate into a rack mount version. You know, because the way we design this unit from the get-go internally is you know, in a kind of a modular fashion, so that the building blocks can be used in other products.
Okay. All right. Next question. Is there active alerting? And can you set various thresholds for what triggers an alert?
So the alerts can be handled a couple of different ways, and one of them is with SNMP. So we conform to SNMP V1 and V3, and what you do is anytime something is triggered, if you turn this this trigger on right here, or this manual, if you want, you know, to trigger you when a human goes and manually controls something, you know, that can set alerts. But anytime something is triggered, so whatever is in the trigger menu can send a trap.
Okay, next question. So to reset the device locally, you need to have a PIN. What happens if a user hits the software reset?
The software reset, I think, does not put it back. You know what? I have to find the answer to that, because that one stumped the band. You know, yeah, because that was something that we were debating, whether the software reset will reset the password or not. So you know, maybe get the you know, we'll answer that question and send it out in an email to everybody, all those people online.
And I do have the person's name who put that in. Okay, next question.
Okay.
When does the 1RU unit come out?
We do not have a date. It is on our roadmap, but we do not have a date set for that yet. But the fact that you're asking the question will definitely allow me to advocate for getting it out sooner.
Okay, and last question. You appear to be logged into the Squid's direct IP address. Is there an overarching way to manage numerous squids?
Good question. We do have, and I don't have it, I'm not sure I have it loaded on here. We do have a device, what do you call it? Discovery. It's called the Discovery tool. If you go to our website, you'll see it on there, the Squid Discovery tool. The Discovery tool will go out and search your local network for all the squids that are on there, and it allows you to directly connect to them using this user interface. But as you can see here, I have named this unit the chiller unit. It also shows up in the in the tab for this web, for this web, for this window. If I had 3 or 4 squids open, each one of them would have a different name up here. So you would just pop between different squids web pages. Robert, any other questions?
That is it.
Very good, very good.
I'd like to add one thing to this. Vince, thank you very much for your very, very in-depth analysis of the product. And folks, one thing I want everybody to understand is this product has really been in a lot of management focus. It's been in a lot of engineering focus. It's been on our boards for a long time. We brought it out knowing the market we were going after and the audience that we're going to be working with. We can get this product to you today. It is available. It's not something we're talking about anymore because we're talking about it being in present tense, not in future tense. So we're ready to go. We're looking for your orders. Let us know if you have questions. Vince is always available, and your local representative in your area is also willing and more than able to help you with each individual type of question that you have as well. And if we can't field it, by golly, I know Vince can.
Thank you so much, Mike. And Robert, thank you for coordinating all this. And if you got any other questions, feel free to email us, and we'll get you going.
Thanks all. Have a great day.
Bye, everybody.